solo kill that really started that comeback for them. So their early games, by and large, have been really iffy.
Yeah, they certainly have. A lot of individuals have been coming up clutch when the team really needs them to. And TSM, we want to see a little bit more consistency from them going up against a WE you can only expect is going to get better, especially playing here in Wuhan.
Yeah, you wonder whether or not Team WE will also factor into that pressure. We've seen it go both ways with EDG being 0-3 and RNG winning their group at 5-1. Team WE scrimmed a lot against the other LPL teams leading up to this.
And we heard from Frost at the start of the day how Team WE don't seem to be playing like they did during the regular season.
Right.
Where is the superstar Condi? Mystic, he's been having great performances, but Team WE as a whole are not having these well thought out, well constructed, extremely elegant team fights that they were so famous for during the LPL regular season. And the question is, have they pushed things aside? Have they evolved from week one?
Yep.
And that's what makes week two all the more exciting.
Yeah, and not only do you get through quarterfinals, there's a very real opportunity for any of these teams to get the first seed in the group. And that matters so much. TSM have been in positions before in 2 different groups where if one game would have gone differently for them, they could have potentially had a path to the finals because the team that got first in that group went to finals. It happened in 2014 where they dropped a game to Starhorn Royal Club. They went all the way to the finals. Samsung, if Doublelift doesn't dash into Victor, you know, TSM could have actually made it out of groups. They would have won that group because they would have had the tiebreaker for a Samsung. So that type of what-if game is really dangerous to play as well. And you need to make sure you're not doing it because what if TSM didn't get a solo kill by Bjergsen in the last game against Xie, or didn't get a solo kill by Hanser in the top lane against Flash Wolves? Would they be 0-3? Because it doesn't matter what if. What matters is what is, and that's why this game is so important.
Exactly. It was what is being picked right now, what they have for each other, and what homework they have done. 20 seconds left here as we're in the ban phase back and forth. Still 2 for TSM and 1 for Team WE as we're getting caught up. The Callista, as always, and the Rakan banned out by WE.
Now, last week, TSM got Tristana twice for Doublelift in their first 2 games, and Misfits were the first team to ban it away. Team WE showing that same level of respect towards Doublelift. They want to put him on something else. And the question is, will he go for the Cogmore again, or will he put more value on champions like the Xayah and the Varus, who we've seen be high in priority across the other teams?
And the Janna being so high in priority makes you think it would be a lock-in first pick for Team WE if TSM bans it here, or doesn't ban it here. But the problem with that is, if you take Rakan and Janna off the table, you're giving them the Lulu, and then you're pushed into some weird matchups once again.
And last week, Ben had some very good performances on the Janna too.
Yep.
So I feel like Team WE are not afraid to prioritize it. And a very interesting Cogmore ban coming out from TSM towards Mystic. It was one of his more popular AD carries during the regular season, and I think it's just a sign of respect towards the AD carry.
Yeah, they want to block Janna Cog, but that also keeps open Janna Twitch. Especially with no Tristana to try and push the lane. So a very bottom lane focused ban phase, leveraging the power of that first pick to get the big combos theoretically out of TSM's hands. They're probably going to pick Jarvan, a high priority champ, and Lulu, which works out okay when you consider that some teams have different priorities.
Using all the time that they have.
Okay.
Jarvan locked in for the top side as they just go ahead and hover the Sedge, giving them time to think about whatever they want. With Janna picked.
Could lock it, which would mean Jarvan top lane, which is a very early show of a solo lane, but it does deny theoretical power picks. Instead, they just deny with the Twitch to block Janna Twitch from Team W.
That's a Doublelift Twitch, not something we see very often as well. But they, as we see, will still get the Lulu if they want it, and that Bjergsen pick, and Condi hovering the Lee Sin, still waiting.
Listen to the crowd erupt as he hovers over the Lee. He will stick with the meta. He will go with the Sejuani. He smiles on the players of Team WE. Now this would be an interesting pick. Okay, let's not trust the hovers.
Man,
it's the Uzi love.
Team WE is just showing how they are not RNG. They're hovering all the picks that RNG was able to win with, and then going with Caitlyn.
Whoa, wow.
Try and bully that Twitch.
All right.
Now, Caitlyn, I remember received a couple of nerfs not too long ago, I believe to her base attack speed as well, which really kind of hurt her laning phase a little bit. She isn't as powerful. Well, I mean, she still has power in the laning phase, but as she progresses into the late game, her value becomes slightly less.
Yeah, so the crit on the trap is much lower on this version of the Caitlyn, and also the late game attack speed was just consistently hit, so the hyper carry doesn't really feel like it's there. There will be a monstrous late game difference in the power of Caitlyn and Twitch if the gold remains close. The reason you pick Caitlyn still is to shut out the other AD carry and get a huge item lead so that you're still stronger than them in the late game.
I believe we actually haven't seen Caitlyn really with any kind of on sensor either, so it'll be fascinating to see how that interacts with the K2 and if it gives her a slightly stronger mid-game spike.
So interestingly enough, the way attack speed works is every attack speed item or bonus you're giving someone multiplies off of a champion's base attack speed. And Caitlyn's base attack speed is really low, which means she'll actually benefit less from Ardent Sensor than other marksman picks.
Second phase of bans, Gnar for Haunter, as he's been making plays on that. CHUNG as well for 957, so they cannot protect Mystic in that bot lane, dealing a lot of damage here for Team WE. He's been a great focus power for this team. Solution banned out from GIệN, and we will find out Team WE's final ban.
I was just about to say no mid lane bans as of yet. Was expecting maybe a Syndra respect towards HUYyczN. He played it twice last week, 1 win, 1 loss, but we know that it is one of his big comfort picks, and they could look to early rotate it if they still want to keep the flexibility of the jump between top and jungle.
HUYyczN's Syndra gets knocked out here, so actually quite a lot left up in that mid lane. The Orianna, the Rise as well, the LeBlanc, the Cassio. We're going to get a tank for the top side, and looks like the lock-in Cho'Gath for Haunter.
TSM had Cho'Gath in the top lane against 957 last time, so they're opting this time to counter pick for the mid lane. And I want to bring up the Rumble here, as it is obviously locked in, but this has been a pretty heavy LPL priority. Janna, Galio, and Rumble are 3 champions that I feel like WE has had a higher priority on than many other regions, and I think it's because of the boot camp they did, where they're mostly scrimming between each other. Watch for where the Equalizer goes in team fights, and whether or not Doublelift can do damage in those fights, because he's going to be sitting on top of an Equalizer.
Holy damage as well, coming in from Team WE in this pick phase. We'll see what TSM rounds it out with. That LeBlanc still on the board. We may see HUYyczN try to get a little crazy with some solo kills here.
I so much prefer a Rise here. I feel like that it would fit so much better with the composition of TSM. You have the scaling value too. It does well into the Jace. And I think that this pick is just, it's more respectful towards GIệN, and LeBlanc relies a little bit
Is it about that?
No,
I'm just
It also has the potential to chain CC Rune Prison into Rupture if they can get a pick onto any of the squishier members of Team WE, of which there are many thanks to that Rumble pick.
So do we feel like Team WE has a bit of a timer in this game? Looking at Cho'Gath that's just going to grow, a Rise that's just going to grow.
Well, go on, Jeff, please, after you.
Yeah, I think there is a small timer in this game, thanks to the power of the Caitlyn early, the fact that you can stack a bit of armor against Jace, but so much of it does come down to the execution. Because of the Rumble Equalizer and the ability to potentially lock down a Twitch on that, and the relatively lower mobility of the Rise and the Twitch, you can still outplay in the late game, even if you were outscaled in standard fights.
It's one of those things as well, though, that the later into the game you get, the harder the Rumble Ultimate is to use, because things like Redemption, Locket, and the Lulu Ultimate can all just mitigate the value that it really brings, and it doesn't affect tanks as much as you really would like. So if we go into true late game, then the Rumble can lose its value. But Team WE, I think they're all about this early to mid, and I think they're looking to get a convincing win here over TSM. But TSM, I think it's been difficult so far for teams to get that clean win against them so far.
And as we mentioned, so much on the line for these two teams. 3-way ties in the group. They need to win to be in first place.
And we are on to the Rift. Team WE versus TSM in Group D. As you said, Jack, if you want first place, you're going to have to find victories in these games. This stands for Team WE and for TSM here. Misfits just found their victory. We'll see who can do it within this game. I kind of asked stats. I said, Doublelift hasn't played Twitch in a while. When was that? July 2014 versus Evil Geniuses. Competitive play, and it was a loss. Last time his competitive play was that far ago. We'll see if he's shored up those weaknesses. We got the Twitch here at Worlds.
professionally he may not have played it. One would imagine that he has
of course.
hopefully played it.
The first time, like, what do all these skills do? Sponge is different.
Wait, it's not
Wait,
called
hang on,
that?
they renamed Spray and Pray? So looking across the early game, we see fairly standard stuff. Doran Shield coming out from Xie in the mid lane, a bit of a defensive start from him, but the cool thing about Jace is because he is AD scaling, he has a bit of early pressure up against the Rise, especially in those first few levels, and his wave clear is decent. Fascinating that he's decided to go for the heal rather than the cleanse.
Yeah.
Clearly not too afraid of the route from the Rise.
Yeah, thinking he can also just win an all-in or 2v1 someone early game. That's sometimes when you would bring the heal in those situations.
TSM very, very ready. Even behind themselves here with their tweets. Bjergsen's been waiting for this and waiting to redeem themselves. But this also puts more pressure on them, especially tweets like this.
Yeah, Bjergsen, Doublelift, Svenskeren, they were all making calls, as well as Hanser. They need to do this for themselves. Last year, there were so many expectations of making the semifinals. They were in that Samsung RNG group, which we are familiar with from this year. Pretty hard to get out of, but they were close, right? A lot of the same parallels you can draw with G2 this year. And this year, you know, there was no Korean team in the group, but still a lot of other good teams with WE, Misfits who's showing up, Flash Wolves was supposed to be a contender. And it's all about how you perform on this day, whether you get to play in subsequent weeks of the World Championship.
And we talk about how this means so much, there's so much pressure for TSM, but for Team WE, they've had a bit of an amazing year. This is the first time that they've been able to return to the World Championship since Season 2, where they made it all the way to the quarterfinals to have that absolutely epic against CLG EU. But this was a young roster. The whole purpose of building this team was to build it over time. And throughout this year, they went to MSI. They had the semifinals versus G2, and now they fought their way through the play-ins and a hit at the group stage, just as close as TSM to making it out of the group stage.
Condi's looking for an evade. Jarvan is quite low. I don't believe they were spotted. They definitely spot him on the ward now, so there should be not much doing on this extended invade. One thing that's been interesting about this Team WE team, though, is while everyone is 2-1, the memory of Team WE from last week may not be that they were pretty dominant. But if we look at major lead and major deficits across all group stage teams, this is when you have 51.5% of the game's total gold. They're actually ranked up there with the top teams and have almost never fallen super far behind. So in their other games that they didn't lose, so in their 2 victories, they were actually very dominant and should be feared coming into this final week.
Team WE in this group do look like they know what to do with the lead. They were praised for it during the regular season of the LPL, and that's why they're still a scary contender. That's why all 3 analysts still peg them on the desk to be able to make it out of this group. Expectations are still high, even though this is the 3rd seed from China. But now they will be going up against TSM in the first game of the day, and as we said, there is a bit of a timer on their composition. With the Caitlyn, they're looking to get early pressure during the laning phase. They've already started to build a bit of a CS lead. And with the Jace in the mid lane too, he's looking to apply a bit of pressure. He's actually falling behind Bjergsen in terms of that early fight.
And we talk about WE being a bit quicker. 2 of those games that they won in the first week were 2 of the fastest, 26 and 32 minutes over Misfits and Flash Wolves. So they're trying to keep a pace, trying to keep that consistency going to have that early game.
Yeah, and speaking of early game, the Caitlyn has shifted the paradigm of that bottom lane a little bit, where previously it's all about just mining gold with gold quintessences and relic shields and culls to get that item as fast as possible. Whereas this game, we see a Doran's Blade on Mystic, a Doran's Shield on Doublelift, and even though Ben has gone for the gold runes on Janna, Biofrost is not, because they know how much they're going to get poked in this lane and are trying to bypass that point of the game. What it's going to mean, though, is Ben's probably getting Ardent Sensor first, and it's about how quickly Biofrost can match before losing turrets.
You hope that doesn't come when the lane is lost or the track and fight needs to happen, but that's usually and seemingly the time that those Ardent Sensors seem to come up. Just a slight gold lead out of a bit of laning phase or jungle pathing right now means really nothing, but you can see it back already here from Xie. Bjergsen is just waiting to do that now.
9.7, a player that not many eyes have been on, a fairly consistent performer for the side of Team W. Unfortunately has been playing a bunch of tanks, which is often the common theme for top laners. But as you rightly said earlier, Jack, the thing about Rumble is he can be pretty pivotal for these LPL teams. We've got to keep our eyes on Sven as he makes his way down bottom.
Trying to punish Ben pushing up so much with Mystic. He does show pretty early, though. This means they're probably going for Ben.
It over focus, actually right onto Mystic, gets the 90 caliber net back to safety, and it looks like just a little presence shown in the lane. Flash, or heal you, sorry.
Yeah, they do get the heal out of Ben, as you identified there, Riv. WE probably should have set a ward in the river. They had a deep ward towards Gromp, but it got cancelled out by the pink ward, which meant the TSM were able to freely walk through and set up that gang. So a bit of pressure alleviated from the side of TSM.
Yeah, and even just based on the Caitlyn pick, you know a lot of focus is going to be on both the AD carries. One thing that Team WE has done better than other teams is shut down the enemy AD carry while also enabling Mystic. I want to point to the DPMD, or the damage per minute difference, at 434. That's because enemy AD carries against Mystic and Team WE have done almost nothing, while he has done 800 damage per minute. So not only does that have the Caitlyn in this game trying to deny the Twitch CS to keep him off his item power spikes, really want to point attention to 957's Rumble.
Yes.
Because when they were playing their games against the Flash Wolves, when they were playing them in the rest of the group, they put so much focus onto killing the enemy support and immediately after killing the AD carry. And Equalizer is so good at zoning AD carries out of team fights where Mystic is just going to be free hitting.
That's the one thing you kind of guarantee. Cho'Gath will get big, the Rumble Equalizer goes where it wants, where they want to place it. Biofrost taking a few shots as Doublelift puts himself in a safe position away from that damage. And Svenskeren is here to help with the counter. WE trying to make moves around the map, or at least make TSM feel uncomfortable here in the early game.
Well, there's so much pressure down there. The wards in the jungle, the invades. Mystic just walked through the enemy turret and wasn't even punished for it.
And you think back to when TSM did lose during the group stages, it was because Doublelift and Bio, they struggled during the laning phase, but also Double especially, he did underperform when he played Kog'Maw into Misfits. WE, they're trying to mimic that style and just shut that AD carry down.
TSM is here. There's no teleport, though. It's a teleport disadvantage for them. That's what that ward is up top for. If they wanted to force a 5v4, that would still be relatively risky.
Nice damage onto Ben, making it a little bit harder for either of them to get in and tank. Doublelift's low, but it looks like he's healthy enough to hold this off. The longer it takes, the more TSM has to set up for it, and I don't see it working as well.
The thing is, for TSM, they're afraid right now to move past the tower. They're all just grouping up bot. Just keep your eyes on 957.
Oh my word!
No armor runes on top of Biofrost. He is one squishy Lulu. GA so close to getting first blood, but WE, they're happy with the blue buff that they were able to walk away with.
Yeah, and the longer that this doesn't happen, the more TSM kind of gets away with it. Knowing there's going to be that huge pressure down bottom lane, Hanser using this teleport to get back to lane, and 957 not, has got him that 15 CS advantage, but it meant the Bjergsen had to sit down there to ward off the gank, because that teleport ward, we've seen it so many times from these teams that want to dive bottom lane. It was placed, and Hanser wouldn't have been able to match.
Seeing what the play is topside now. 957 trying to figure out what TSM is doing or at what time. Looks like they'll hand this over to Bjergsen if they're actually able to get it off the reset. Looks like they back out.
That's actually a bit of a misplay there from TSM, because reading an article that Svenskeren talked about, he basically said that TSM love to play around the enemy blue, because if it can shut down the enemy blue, deny them that blue buff, it gives Bjergsen that extra bit of pressure during the laning phase. So if they have the pressure in the lane and the opportunity to steal it, they will actually prioritize that over alternative options. And here, they tried to make that play, especially after losing their own blue buff, but because of the ward from 957 and because of the reset, they failed to steal. GA catches up in levels, and now he's going to feel confident in this 1v1 against Bjergsen.
He'll hit the stacking of his tier just a little bit. With his rise, the machine gun mage, he'll still get up there at some point. We'll see how big of an effect it has if they're actually pushed into these fights early. GA is going to have a fun time just hitting out the shock blast for now. Bottom side being hovered by Condi here. Looks like he's going to finish up his Raptors, and we might get a kind of all-around back for WE as they come back out onto the Rift.
Yeah, Doublelift getting BF Sword and Double Dagger is actually making him relatively confident in this lane. If they can sneak a Mountain Drake despite all this bottom lane control, it would be pretty remarkable. The fact that there's this gap in vision by Team WE and they don't take the Mountain Drake. Based off the early pressure, it's really strange that TSM is getting this Drake, but good on them for getting it. And a lack of vision there for Team WE for a second.
Exactly that. WE, they just dropped the ball a little bit when it comes to the River Wards. TSM very quick to get the advantage. But now we have to look at some of the items that are being done, because Ghostblade already finished onto GA. Decided to skip the boots, just wants that early penetration as Condi coming down bot.
Yeah, I like it. You guys mentioned that they didn't have control down there, and they said, what's next? Vision back towards the bot side. Condi presents himself. A few wards around. They can see if Svenskeren coming in, and with a bit of a denial in CS and that turret now. THÜI pull up the bottom lane.
And this is where things start to get difficult for TSM because pressure being exerted by GIệN in the mid. Mystic and Ben can be moved around the map from bottom to top, or even mid if they want, and these towers become the next objective for THÜI. So the onus is on TSM to try and force a play.
Yeah, and Mystic and Ben will be deciding a lot of this game whether or not they can get the early 3 turret snowball, because that could be a lead big enough for Team THÜI to take the victory. That's what this whole draft is predicated around. The first turret you actually expect to happen. TSM made it through that laning phase without dying, keeping CS pretty close to even. That's what you expect. Where TSM needs to hold is on the mid and the top lane turret. They can maybe even lose 2 and still have that Twitch outscale, but if they lose all 3, they lose control of the jungle, and that's when the snowball really kicks in.
Oh, that sensor now finished up for Ben as they get themselves towards the top side. A little bit more strength to take that turret out. We're seeing GIệN here in mid, seeing the shock gates or the acceleration gates he's putting up at a diagonal position, but not horizontal to him. It's making GIệN have a hard time of figuring out where those shock blasts are going to go. Actually, a really cool technique by Jace players.
He has been able to close the CS gap as well. So Team THÜI off to a great start. They did have a good early performance the last time they met TSM. They were able, as we mentioned earlier on the day, TSM yet to get any first bloods so far at the 2017 World Championship.
Only team of group stage not to get a first blood in group stage. Nearly gave up first blood this game as well when we talked about Biofrost getting hit by that Jace shock blast, but potentially more pressure top lane.
Teleports are up. We see Hanser inside the base, and it's a little bit of a roam from 957. Remember, Equalizer's quite long. They may try to act on Bjergsen in mid as they got the pressure towards the top side. Mystic takes a few too many hits.
They have so much pressure across the map here. Not only Jace keeps landing shock blast onto Bjergsen, and Rumble can just roll over and probably take this turret.
Yeah, they're not even going to try for the kill here. They say, we'll just walk up, take what we can. Bjergsen can't get to the back line to get that spell flux around and clear it. Condi's going to come in for help as well. And they eventually throw down that Equalizer, almost going for the shock blast. Blood in the water.
This is such a fast 3-turret snowball. They pull Jarvan mid because of the pressure, which gives Mystic and Ben free time to hit double it.
Whoop. Like they're going to be safe on that one, going a little too hard under the turret, but they do finalize this right across the board. An incredible spike in gold here for Team THÜI. It's 13 minutes.
This is a beautiful demonstration of how to snowball early pressure. It's not about getting a bunch of kills. It's not about finding a bunch of picks. It's just using your lane advantages where you have the push and moving it around the map, because you get the gold from taking down these structures. And Team THÜI are 3 towers to 0.
Doublelift almost 50 CS behind and not even guaranteed to pick up the wave that's sitting in front of him right now. And it looks like the pressure is not going to stop. Condi's a wall in the middle, and they can't even bring anything up here to the second tier turret.
And now the next steps for Team THÜI are about getting that deep vision and stealing away camps. Deny resources from TSM, bleed them dry, because you can't make plays for things like the Baron at this point in the game. It's far too early. Taking tier 2 towers is also pretty difficult, but if they want, they might even go for a kill.
If they can get a kill, that means they can get the tier 2.
Oh, Doublelift free farming on the outside, knock him down. First blood for Team THÜI.
Beautiful chain CC there from Team THÜI. They utilize the ult. Now Sven could be in trouble.
And they are not stopping. They find Svenskeren in the jungle, and just a few hits from GIệN in the mid lane almost takes him down. Ace in the hole, blocked by Biofrost, and the shock blast follow-up almost takes him down.
And that may be the second time Biofrost nearly dies. And it's interesting because he didn't go for the gold quince, which is costing him in the sense that they had that long time where they didn't have Ardent Sensor. But he brought 2 armor quintessences, which may have saved his life twice at this point. Either way, Team THÜI is getting a massive snowball, 4 turrets to 0.
All within the past 3 minutes. We'll see it all again. Here's the gank. Thought he was safe. Just a few CS was needed.
Yeah, did not have very good vision control in his own base. Thought that Mystic and Ben would just go for a recall since they were sitting on a bunch of gold, but they make the unpredictable play, and Doublelift disrespects it.
Yeah, there were 2 red wards, one on the red buff and one just behind it for TSM, and that gave Doublelift this sense of safety, but he didn't have what was right in front of him warded up, which THÜI were able to capitalize on. And the kill went over to Mystic, which is even better for Team THÜI.
And I do love the shift we can be seeing in the meta in week 2 of Worlds, because you look at TSM team composition, and those are all priority picks and successful picks from the first week. Cho, Ryze, Twitch, Lulu. And that would be great if you're going up against another passive bottom lane with the scaling mid lane or
It wants to hang out.
Sure, you hang out and you're totally fine when you hit the team fight phase. But now that the team fight phase is approaching 15 to 20 minutes and they're 6,000 gold down against Team WE, that's what an early game composition can get you if you're willing to take the risk and you play it right like Team WE is doing right here.
Now, while TSM were at a deficit the last time they fought up against WE, it was not quite a deficit of this magnitude. It was all about Bjergsen making that clutch play, getting a solo kill onto GIịN that turned it around. And again, Team WE deny, and it feels like Team WE come in respecting TSM so much more. They are not giving TSM the option to make these clutch plays, but you're still looking at players like Bjergsen, like THÄY, to find that swing and momentum back in TSM's favor.
And this is the largest early game deficit TSM has faced. Even though they've fallen behind in the early game by kills in their prior 3 from week 1, this game it's a lot worse. You can see those little dips at 23 minutes. We're 8 minutes from 23 minutes. They could be down 8,000 gold if this keeps up and TSM can't turn anything around.
WE consistently trying to make their game some of the fastest in the group in Biofrost. They are 3 for 3 on hits and 0 for 3 on kills, but it is so close every time for his death. HUYY now trying to get them to refocus, not go forward the turret. They're using themselves to stop the defense or stop the offense, and it's just not working.
Yeah, and that right there was one of the costs even. Oh, they're going for an engage.
Right on the THÄNSK doesn't have a chance to even get out of it. They are thinking 3 steps ahead, and TSM isn't even considering these engages.
Unbelievable execution from Team WE. They are looking so good to get what I believe is the fastest inhibitor tower of the World Group stage.
It's going to be 6 turrets. The Rift Herald is down. They might be going for even more. Placing it here, if they can land enough poke, maybe they go for more. You don't imagine they overstay.
Gosh, not with the way they've been playing. I believe it's one of the second teams even to get Rift Herald inside the base at the World's Group stage so far. 3-0 as they make their way out. 6 turrets, 18 minutes into the game.
Unbelievable performance from Team WE. When we talk about early game snowballing, this is not what you expect. But this is what Frost wanted to see at the start of the day. This is the WE that she expected. Calm, calculated, decisive, and this is the dive on.
How are you not expecting this?
Yeah, they only have 3 people there. Cho'Gath is killing Krugs in the top lane rather than being there. They need more wave pressure. TSM is not stalling in the proper way. And also, this draft is exploiting the weakness that TSM showed in week 1, which was a completely non-existent early game strategy as far as proactivity is concerned. 4-0, 3-0, 4-0 were the early game kill death scores with late game comps matched against late game comps last week. This is an early game comp from WE matched against a late game comp from TSM, and you're seeing the difference right here. Again, TSM killed us, but down 6 turrets.
Looks like 957 is going to get his hands dirty here with HUYY. First harpoon hit, second one for free, and they're going to cook him up on the equalizer. Flashes himself out. A nice rupture to get himself away from the damage of Mystic, but they're in range. They are ready, and they drop HUYY on the top side of the map. They're going for the second tier.
There are 2 members of TSM top lane and 5 members of Team WE bot. They got their eyes on this second inhibitor tower.
This is absolutely ridiculous from Team WE. The only time they weren't proactive is the map when they lost Dragon, and they went right back to that area to regain the vision, regain control, and ever since they have not lost it. The second inhibitor turret going down with its inhib.
THÄY flashes the wrong way. He ends up giving another kill over to Team WE. And they have to disengage at this point. They don't have the game ending in their eyes, but this crowd is erupting as Team WE are destroying TSM.
And this is exactly what you dream up when you say, we're going to stack lethality mid, we're going to power spike on Caitlyn early before the enemy AD carry can get there, we're going to bring a rumble top. Like, WE is playing so damn well, but also TSM is just asleep with the switch. It feels like they are not in position for these dives. They're flashing in the wrong direction. They're jungling when lanes are getting pushed. This is flashbacks and then some from collapses of TSM's years past.
Condi getting himself out. You can see TSM wants a bit of this fight, but even at low mana, they're trying to get a little bit back. The time they have to leave in their base when the minions are pushing out too, they will not get this chance very often from here on out unless WE makes a very big mistake.
You know, we criticize TSM's early game and their ability to play in this portion of the map. However, I feel like that right now, No team knows how to deal with this kind of pressure in the air. This is the first time we've seen Caitlyn so far during the World's group stages. Mystic has used it fantastically, and Team THÜ have just played around this pressure amazingly well. We've seen similar kind of play styles with the Tristana. We saw G2 utilizing this pressure against teams like RNG. But this sort of decisiveness, this swiftness, is just unique to what we've seen from Team THÜ so far.
Yeah, they're going to siege up inhibitor number 3 before getting Baron because they don't think TSM can wave clear.
Do they need Baron?
I actually think I like this call right here because they can just brute force it.
They have Biofrost on the backside, not their full focus. Svenskeren says, I have to go in to stave off the damage, and goes down immediately along with Double Lift. They are just tearing TSM apart and off the map from their own base. Bjergsen on the side trying to fire over the wall, but they cannot find a position that isn't melee against Team WE.
TSM are able to get 1 kill back, but they've still lost 2. There is a mid super minion wave pushing in, a bot super minion wave pushing in as well. TSM, their backs are already against the wall.
So quick with Caitlyn and the 3 shots from GIệN to take this turret down on that Jace. 7-1 here as the last inhibitor turret falls. Bjergsen very low. Biofrost tries to flash. Glitter lands backwards, and it is all almost said and done here for Team WE as they put the final touches on the 3rd inhibitor of TSM's base.
That Bjergsen kill means Team WE could greed and stick around, but they might take the 3 inhibitor cycle, move it into Baron, and then make one unstoppable push. Yeah, they're going to do that.
Yep.
They're going to do that. Team WE. Wow. You know, you think back and you think this was one of the dominant games of the group. I mean, Longju is the only one that was faster than this during the group stages so far. They were able to end it extremely swiftly as well. But WE, they've just taken the map apart systematically.
Yeah, the speed to 3 turrets, the speed to 6 turrets, the speed to triple inhibs down. All things that are so incredibly fast and well executed by Team WE, who we mentioned at the top here. No one should be sleeping on because of how well they did actually perform looking at the stats back from that first week here. Equalizer right on top of Double Lift. He actually does live through a lot of it until a giant lethality shock blast hits him in the face to cut through all the shields.
Well, that's what you were talking about before, Jet. 957, always finding the AD carry, shutting out that DPS immediately.
Oh yeah, I imagine Double Lift's DPS is going to be pretty low in this game. He has been the target focus of a lot of WE's engages.
And it's what WE has been able to do to teams when they've been successful, and I also feel like a lot of LPL teams have been able to do. Laser focus on killing and damaging the Ardent Sensor support, which is incredibly squishy. That's where all the shock blasts have been targeted. And then in the team fights, when the support's not relevant, everyone else is unlocked to kill the squishies.
Always finding these shock blasts. What a percentage here from Eagle Eye GIệN on the Jace pick. We knew it was strong, but he is coming in huge. Condi puts himself in front. A great Cataclysm, rounding out the AoE damage for TSM. Double Lift backing up. Double Lift kiting, getting the damage in, but I don't think it's going to be enough. The Flame Spitter right in his face, and it's going to be 957. The triple, looking for a quadra, and that goes to GIệN. It's the shutdown coming in from Hanser, but it's not enough. Biofrost running for the hills, goes down.
TSM tried one last-ditch effort, but it's Team WE in front of the home crowd that shut down TSM.
What an opening performance for Team WE, taking down the only team they failed to beat in the last week. That feels so good for them as they move into the next 2 games and shoot for 5-1.
TSM, they came into the day with a lot of confidence. We saw the tweets, we saw the expectations that they put on themselves, but I do not think that they were expecting this Team WE to show up on the day.
And TSM got absolutely destroyed this game. You saw glimmers in that last fight of what TSM envisioned of a late game team fight, but it happened at 24 minutes and it was the last fight of the game. So whatever you dreamed up with that team composition never ended up happening because they got steamrolled in the early game. And the questions you would have coming into this week, will Team WE clean it up? Will they be more like RNG? It looked a lot like it in this game. Looking over at TSM, wondering if they're going to collapse like they did in some years past. That's not a very hopeful response for game 1. They're going to have to pick it up for the rest of the day.
Absolutely. We said winning this game kind of ensures that fight for first place. Now that's all up in the